Some may have questioned the motivation of going for the SEC tourney title for Ole Miss. After losing that first game to Auburn on Wednesday, some may have expected the Rebels to finish up their Hoover run in their second game of the week and head home to Oxford, rest up for the regional. Well, no, some people just aren't right, because that didn't happen at all. 3 wins later, Ole Miss was in position to win their first SEC tourney title in over a decade. I'll show you how it happened to Hoover. At the Hoover Met, Ole Miss and LSU playing for the tourney title. We picked things up in the third game, tied at one wild pitch. Rebels will take advantage. Nick Fortes going from third, and Ole Miss takes a 2-1 lead. Now, starting shortstop Greg Kessinger would lead the game due to a hamstring injury, not expected to be serious. He was looked to be just fine in the dugout. Anthony Servideo holding his own at shortstop. He's a tremendous defensive player. Gets the out right there, flashing leather at short. Sweet States 2-1 going to the fourth. Jacob Adams deep to left center, all the way to the wall. That would be a stand-up double for Adams, and he would come home just a little bit after that, thanks to Nick Fortes, who hit .555 on the week at the SEC tournament. This RBI infield single would score Adams. 3-1 lead now for Ole Miss. Speaking of hitting well, Will Golson had himself quite the week as well. He hit .455 on the week. This one goes into left center for a base knock. Ole Miss, though, would keep that 3-1 lead going all the way into the 6th. With the bases loaded, Ole Miss decides to bring on Ryan Rollison with 1 out. He would get back-to-back strikeouts with the bases juiced to end the threat. He's got a little fire to him. And the Rebels starting to feel good. And then in the 7th, did I by any chance mention Will Golson was a part of this highlight? The former New Hope Trojan, 2 RBI single, makes it a 5-1 lead now for Ole Miss. And just when you thought this was going to be done and over with and the Rebels had scored all they wanted, nope, Tim Rowe the boat. A 2-run shot to center, 4 runs in the 7th for Ole Miss. Put a little bit more distance between themselves and the LSU Tigers as Ole Miss, they are your 2018 SEC tournament champions. They win the title game 9-1 over LSU. It is the first SEC baseball tourney title since '06 for the Rebels. Our Tom Ebel has more from Hoover.
The 5-day grind of the SEC tournament ends in joy for the Ole Miss Rebels, defeating LSU 9-1 to take home its first SEC tournament championship since 2006. All throughout the week, the Rebels were dominant in all facets of the game, mainly starting pitching. The Rebels didn't disappoint against LSU. The starting staff pitched a sub-2 ERA for the week, and head coach Mike Bianco says, except for the last 3 innings of the Auburn game, this team looked good everywhere. So now what's next for the Rebels? They'll be awaiting who they'll be facing in the NCAA tournament.
All week they were just dominant, and it was honestly fun to catch back there because they fill up the strike zone with electric stuff, and I mean they kept us in the ball game. I mean, they deserve all the credit. They kept us in it long enough, and most of our runs that were scored were late in the ball game. So kudos to them for keeping it in and believing in us that we can get the job done later in the game.
It's something that we talk about a lot before the season. It's one of our goals, and it's one of the things that we want to add on to our list. So along with the SEC West, the regional, and the Super Regional in Omaha, it's for sure up there.
If you look back at the guys that had success in this tournament, whatever team it is, you have to pitch well, and certainly we did. I mean, besides those 3 innings on Wednesday, I thought we were lights out, not just with the starting pitching, as you mentioned, but with the bullpen as well.
With an SEC tournament championship, the Rebels are all but a lock for a top 8 national seed and hosting a regional in Oxford. LSU head coach Paul Maneri said, in 12 years of facing Mike Bianco, this might be the best Ole Miss team he's had to face. For Bianco and the Rebels, they're just taking it 1 game at a time.
Everyone knows that we can hang with anybody in the nation, so I mean, for me, it gives us a lot of confidence going into regionals.
This team just shows up and plays. If we have a bad game and we don't show up the next game, we're going to show up. So, obviously, the fan base that we have and, the home field advantage that we're going to have at Swayze through regionals is going to be huge.
The goal is to play well next weekend, play well, and I think the rest of it will take care of itself. I know it sounds so cliche, but it's the truth.
For Ole Miss, Nick Fortes, Will Golson, and Thomas Dillard were all named to the All-SEC tournament team. Those 3 and the Rebels will look to keep momentum rolling for the first weekend of the NCAA tournament coming up this weekend. Reporting here in Hoover, Tom Ebel for WCBI Sports. Robbie, will send it back to you in Columbus.